This is Casper de Nora, and you're watching the Chat with Chaps live show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Midweek Live Chat with Chaps. I'm sure, like all of us on here tonight, you can't wait for some proper football to start again on Saturday. It seems like a bloody age since the Lions have played, unfortunately. I'm getting a bit of a technical... Okay, all good? All good, Stephen? All good, yeah. Right, sorry about that, guys. You might see we might have a few little technical issues tonight, and if that is the case, it's not me for a change. It is we're going to blame Joe Zampa for that tonight. So, look, as I said, welcome to Chat with Chaps. I've got a great show lined up for you tonight. I've got two excellent co-hosts with me, who I'm going to introduce to you now, and I'd like to say, look, a big welcome to a great friend of the show and the voice of Millwall, let's say. Carl Bates, welcome. Nice to see you, Carl.
Yep, evening all.
Thanks for coming on, Carl. Really looking forward to having your input tonight. And how long ago, Carl, was it that you was last on with us?
Cool, that was quite a while now. I think fairly close to the start of the season. I don't think there have been too many games when I last on.
Yeah, so lots of football.
It was only a couple.
Yeah, lots of football played since then, and looking forward to getting your input tonight and your thoughts on how we're doing and the team, etc. So we'll come on to that. And then joining myself and Carl is a man that also needs no introduction, but you will all know he's got more stats than Joe Zampa tries to show his goal on this podcast. It is the one and only Mr. Stephen Jones. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Steve. On the subject of Joe Zampa and scoring goals, I'm sure our listeners from last week will be aware that I said that I had another clip that we could potentially show. So, Steve, how many likes do you think we need for me to play the glorious clip of Mr. Zampa at the Den?
Should we start at 40? Do you think 40 is a nice round number to start with? Okay.
Yeah. So when we hit the 40 mark, likes, guys, at the moment, I think it's 7. So when we get to 40, we have a very, very special treat for you. Also, sorry, my mic cut out literally just as the show started, which is absolutely brilliant. I have put to kind of compensate for the comments. The running feed is going up on the screen, guys, so you will see all your comments on there. Everything will go through. So just trying something a bit different. I appreciate with the background and stuff, it might not be as clear as when we put them on the screen. But as we say, tonight is a Blame Joe Zampa show. He's not here, so we can do that all night long. Jake Cooper's suspended. It's Joe's fault. It's Joe's fault. It's always his fault.
Absolutely, and we're actually going to make him look good tonight as well with our poor attempt to run a show. But hey, I'm sure it'll be a good one. But no, look, welcome everybody. Before we say a quick few hellos, as always, want to thank you for joining us. But please, if you haven't done so, like and subscribe. If you, if you're Millwall fans, if you're not Millwall fans, we might have some Portsmouth fans dialing in to see what we think the outcome Saturday is going to be. Please like and subscribe. There's no cost to you whatsoever, no ongoing commitments. But what it does do is you will be contributing to a very good cause, which is cancer research. Everything any penny we make on this show goes to the great charity of cancer research. So please like and subscribe, put some comments in. It all goes to the algorithms to deliver more funds for us, which is brilliant. And also at this point, I'd like to thank Spectrum VR, who also sponsor the show. And again, a lot of money that they contributed to sponsoring the show, all going directly to cancer research. So that's brilliant. So Before we start, we're going to do some quick hellos to everybody who's tuned in so far, but I'm going to hand over at this point to Stephen, see if he can beat Joe's attempt last time of under a minute. Away you go, Stephen.
So I'm going to just run through them all. So hello to Anthony, Jeff Chandler, Carl Bracey, Wall Lion, Foldsy, Carl Bracey again, David Turner, Chris Brown, Alex, Leslie Goddard, Max Anthony, Bex, one of our new regulars, Mark Murphy again, Craig Jones, Danny F, Ryan Mepham, The Awful Gambler, Eddie Tobin, Benji 1469, Mummy Jones in the chat. Hi, Mum. And Alex again. That was all we had, and I think I did that in under a minute. So again, we've already beaten Joe. It's just flowing absolutely fantastically for this team.
Superb. It's the Carl effect, I think. That's what it is already.
Yeah, something like that.
You're getting some
like Alex's comment.
I was going to say, you're getting some compliments in there.
Well, no, not that one. I was looking at the one about
Alex
fans won't be listening to you at Power Cuts.
Oh right, yeah, good one. Yes, you remember that very
sadly, so do I. I was in the away end that night, which was
well, we thought it was going to be a light show. We presumed it was a light show. We just sort of stopped waiting and then waited and then, well, yeah, the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, let's certainly hope we don't get anything like that this weekend. I guess only the weather could be a possible issue, although I don't think it's going to be that bad, is it, in terms of wintry conditions, but we'll bear that. So look, that leads us on nicely, really, talking about last year, going to Portsmouth. Obviously, we go there on Saturday. But before we look ahead to that game, we thought it would be really good to sort of have a little look at where we are, sixth in the table after 15 games played. Where do we currently think we are in terms of probably your expectations in the first place and the reality of, what we've had to encounter in terms of challenges and games we've played, etc. So if you don't mind, Carl, if I could come to you first and foremost, what's your thoughts on that?
I think for the season so far, to be sixth with the amount of injuries we've had, and don't get me wrong, other teams have as well. When I looked at Preston's team, I was talking to a couple of their guys. They had 8 injuries to fairly key players as well. It's not just us, but considering the key players that we've been missing and the fact that we've had some tough games and we've still picked up wins. Beating Norwich first up was great. Winning at Sheffield United, but I suppose the way we are, that's almost a gimme. It was just surprising that Coops didn't get it. And then some really impressive home performances. I thought against West Brom we were excellent, Stoke as well. The only problems that I've seen so far is when we go behind, we're getting beaten, and we're getting beaten quite badly. That was a concern of mine. I mean, Birmingham especially, but I don't know if that was almost a hangover from the Oxford game, where it was we were on such a good run. Femi got injured. The goal that they scored was, they were just throwing it forwards. We looked tired. The script was written, wasn't it? Coops has scored. Everything's perfect. I've got it all in my head exactly what I'm going to say with the full-time whistle, and then Gary come back to bite us with that goal. Which, I mean, the cross coming, it hit. I think it was Wes, went straight across the edge of the box. Could have gone anywhere. Plaheta hits it. We've got 3 players in the way, and it goes right in the corner, and the day is ruined. And I think going into the Birmingham game, it showed. I thought first 10 minutes we looked really flat, and once they got ahead, well, I think even before they got ahead, you sort of knew what was coming. But got the point against Preston, gave a few chances, and to sit sixth, I think anybody at the start of the season, as I think I put it on social media, at the start of the season, if you'd have said going into the international break, halfway through November, we'd be sitting sixth. We'd have all been delighted with that, especially with some of the fixtures we've had. They haven't been easy.
Absolutely.
You look at the games we've had at home, they've been really tough. So, it's a concern, the last 3 sort of games with Preston getting the point, but with the other 2, a disappointing draw and then the defeat.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the international break come at a good time, not just for injury's sake, with a couple now looking like they could be close to being fit for Saturday, or if not, definitely midweek and the following.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the international break did us a bit of a favour, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just go back, Carl? I want to come back to your final points there, but going back to your point, you spoke to the Preston commentator. You're saying, and he said they
Yes.
had 8 injuries. Do you know how many of those were guaranteed first team starters, though?
It was around 5 or 6. It wasn't
Really? Yeah, same as us.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
right,
was. Yeah,
right.
they brought up the subject more than me. They were just saying when their team was turning up, they were almost literally counting them in as they came through. I mean, they named 2 keepers on the bench. I thought they would. I thought it was the manager making a statement to say, "Look, we need more money in the transfer budget," but they think it was sort of half and half. Yes, to an extent it was, but also they really were struggling. And a couple of their subs, I had to go and do extra research because I had no idea who they were.
Right.
So, they were genuinely struggling. So it might just be us and Preston that are that far in the mire with injuries. I don't know, but yeah, they were struggling as well.
I do think it's a bit extreme for us right now. I've never known us have 5, 6 guaranteed first team players out. But yeah, look, that's not a nice way to look at it, but it's a nice thing to know that it's not exclusive to us. It is happening to other teams and teams that are at the top, And going back to the last 3 games, and I think you said there, look, they've been poor or disappointing was your words, and rightly so. But look, you can look at it, can't you? 1 loss in 3, 2 draws, I know, and 1 particularly disappointing. I think a lot of us are underestimating the Preston point. I felt we should have won the game, but they're no mugs. I know they looked a bit journeyman, and they had a lot of injuries apparently. But they're not up there by default either, are they? Like us, you'd say. But what about the Femi effect? Is that what's really hurt us? Do you feel?
I think it has, and that's because he's almost the guaranteed X factor. You do get little bits of magic from Ballo, from Negley, from Cundle, but with Femi in that attacking sort of 4, should we call it, he is the one that you can give him the ball, and if you're watching, you're naturally almost half off your seat straight away. You're encouraging, go at him, and you fancy him, which he did most of the time, beat the fullback, and then putting in the crosses. And I think without him, has struggled a bit up top because those chances have been very few and far between. And that must be frustrating for him because we all know he can finish. We all know he's a good striker. But you look at those 3 games, yes, we scored 2 against Oxford, but in the game, if you look at the last 3, I suppose, in good chances that Millwall had, you're probably looking at half a dozen over the 3 games. And that, I think, is down to not just Femi, but also a couple of other players that just are struggling at the moment. But I think also some of that could be down to position. I think Alex also isn't quite sure where the top players should play, because against Birmingham, he moved Ballo across, put Negley wide. He's played Negley in behind Miha. So he's obviously trying to make it click consistently instead of sporadically. So if that works at some point, we are going to cause a team definite problems, and Portsmouth could be a nice one to take on.
Yeah, agreed. Well, look, we'll come on to that. Thank you, Carl. I'll just come to you in a second, Stephen, if you don't mind. I've just been trying to listen and look at some comments. I see that we're getting close to likes, apparently, already. Is that right? Somebody
Absolutely.
mentioned?
And also, can I just say, John, thank you very much for the donation. John's back in the chat there, as he is every week. So thank you very much, mate. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks, John. It's really much appreciated. And Stephen, linking on from Carl's thoughts there, really good assessment of the season so far and the challenges, etc. What's your take on all of that?
So we did last week. I did a little bit of research on how many injured players there were across the fixtures in the Championship overall. So flash scores when you go on the lineups, you can kind of see who's missing from different teams. So I picked a cross section. Obviously, our 2 games. I think it was Sheffield United's fixture, Derby's fixture, and 1 other. And the average, you're looking at most teams have got about 4 players out. I think one of them remarkably had none. I think it might have maybe been Swansea. They had no reported injuries going into the game. But so it isn't just an us thing. I agree with Carl there that it is across the board. But I think our problem is that it's who is missing. That Femi Aziz seems to be the we talk about the Femi effect at Oxford. He went off the pitch, and for 20, 25 minutes, we looked in absolute shambles. We really did. So, it's difficult to look past him being a key one, and he had missed significant games earlier on in the season as well. Alex put a comment in the chat. The last 3 results have put on a bit of a downer, but over the last 10 games, we've still averaged 1.8 points a game. And I think if you look at one thing and I'm a real firm believer of this, we've still got this. We're not beating the teams that perhaps we should be beating, but we're still finding a way of beating the teams that perhaps we might not be as fancied, or at the beginning of the season, the so-called big boys. Your Leicester spring to mind. I don't think Leicester were particularly good, but that was a result that perhaps on paper people might not have thought we would have got over the line. So if you look at the results, we've obviously, we've lost to Wrexham. We've not beat Swansea, who've had a very poor run. I know they've sacked their manager. I believe, obviously Oxford struggling at the bottom of the division. Birmingham have been hit and miss. I think there was a perhaps hangover there, but and Preston again on paper perhaps at the beginning of the season weren't fancied. So you'd have looked at those results and gone, that's looked pretty poor. But then when you flip it and look at who we have beaten, I think we're in a fair position. People always say that we should be doing better. We should be higher up the league. I think if you end, the season, or if you was to end the season in 6th spot, no one is going to care. We should be 3rd. We should be 4th, because you've achieved what the goal is to get in the top 6. So I think we're doing okay. I think if you look at the obvious area is scoring goals. We perhaps went into pre-season thinking that we'd cracked it and we were scoring goals for fun, but obviously that hasn't transpired in league football. But we also, and I know we've been hammered a couple of times, but across the board we don't concede that many goals. We don't. The goal difference is only in the minus because we've had a couple of absolute thumpings by Coventry and Birmingham. So I think we're doing all right. I think we just need to be a little bit realistic that we are also Millwall. We're not gonna win every single game, as much as we'd love us to, and as much as we went on that 4-game winning run. I think everyone in their back of their mind was thinking, well, someone's going to stop it. Someone's going to Gary Rowett. It was always going to be Gary Rowett that stopped it, wasn't it? And lo and behold,
hang on a minute, Mr. Stato. Are you not the man who on this podcast has been saying this season, we've got to stop saying this is
absolutely
Millwall, this is what we
absolutely do. I don't want us to be that team. I want us to go to games, and I said it. I didn't want us to have the Gary Rowett effect, the Oxford effect. I wanted us to go there and win the game. I thought on the day, especially in that second half, I thought we were excellent when he made the changes, when he got Negley in the 10, Billy Mitchell come on, and I think we should have killed them off. We had chances to kill that game, but we didn't either play the right pass or couldn't find the right finish. So I think Alex Neil had not bought into that. Oh, it's Oxford, it's a former manager. He went there to win the game, but I think that we as, and I use that as the collective, the supporters, I think we still have this. Oh, it's an old manager. Oh, we never typically do well at this ground. We never do well here. I think we've got to lose that if we really want to believe we can make the top 6.
Yeah.
And just following on from what you said in regards to Oxford and not taking their chances, Ryan Leonard did something that I whittled on about and still do since the start of time when I first started watching Millwall with Lenny. Lenny's the only player who did exactly what he did against Oxford. He's the type of player can get the ball and go straight gun barrel at a defence. You look at Casper, you look at Billy, brilliant players, but they aren't going to do what Lenny did. Lenny got the ball at full back. He ran full pelt straight down the middle. He should have bloody passed right at the end, because if he had, there was a tap in. But I think he deserved the right. Maybe he reserved the right and thought, right, I'm going to go and score the goal of the season almost. But that just showed, again, you mentioned about missed chances. But yeah, that run was still 2-1 at the time. That would have killed it. It was quite near the end, I think. Probably about 10 to go.
Yeah.
And big chance. But unfortunately, didn't take it. So yeah, as you say, chances cost us.
I think as well, and you look at individual moments in games, I think there's not just that at that chance. I think Ballo was free on the left hand side. I think he was the one that Leonard could have either slid, or Ivanovic was. I think Ivanovic was right. Ballo was left. He decided to shoot, which there's nothing wrong with, as you say. You think as a defender you don't get many chances to do this, so I'm going to take the effort. But I think across the season, we haven't had, in games that we've lost, I think it hasn't been, you could see, Coventry, that they kind of outplayed us really. Wrexham, we couldn't get going. Birmingham, we were kind of a shadow of ourselves. In the defeats, I think that's where perhaps, and I think you're right in saying that when we go behind, the heads drop or the mentality goes. I think that's the only concern, because how often are we going to go behind in games? We'd love to see us go 1-0, 2-0, but if we do go behind, we've got to get out of this habit of we're not going to score, because you feel it in the crowd. I went at Charlton. I didn't expect us. I really didn't expect us to get anything that day. We were just resigned to thinking, oh God, that's it. We're not going to score. And obviously Ray's finds a finish. I think that's the one worry I have for the next few games, is if we do go behind, is that mentality going to settle in again?
I'm glad you passionately defended yourself there,
Absolutely.
and rightly
Absolutely.
so. I was trying to stir it up a bit, but I just look, not to debate now, but I wonder, like, your point on that, is that us as fans or is that the team? I'm not sure right now. Has been the team in years gone by. I'm not sure quite now. But what I did want to say, Carl, you made a really good point there about Lenny driving forward with the ball, which is something we don't do enough. But and tell me if I'm wrong. I've got a memory in my mind, and God knows how I can remember anything good from the Birmingham game. But didn't Jake Cooper do it at one point as well? He just picked the ball up and he went forward and he just kept going and going and going. And he wasn't quite on the edge of their box, but he was sort of halfway into their half. And I turned to my mate Jeff and said, "We need to do that more. They just all back off." And it doesn't matter whether it's Jake or Kramer or Lenny, as you say, whoever. We don't seem to do that enough, do we?
No, it's something that Birmingham unfortunately did to us far too often that day. I mean, credit to them down the flanks. The two the two fullbacks and the wingers just ripped us to pieces. Either the two wingers went and got chalk on their boots, as they say, and then the other two cut in, or other way round. I mean, I felt for Joe Bryan because he didn't have a chance. They just ran him the whole game. Iwata from right back was basically a right winger. I think it was Roberts was ahead of him. You had Damari Gray and Cochrane the other side. And but they were doing, I mean, I had Andy Marshall on comms with me, who's, brilliant. And we were talking through it and
got really positive comments about him, Carl, actually. Everybody was saying he was very good.
Yeah, he was natural to it. And we were just commenting literally on that. Birmingham, when they got the ball, they ran at us, gaps appeared because they just a quick couple of passes and they were then attacking the defence. And it's that driving force from the back. Like before Leonard was put to right back, it's something that I liked him in midfield doing, because he had that, he could get the ball and run at defenders. And that is something that we don't have, and I think it shows sometimes. Like I said, when Cooper's broke the lines, we've seen Kramer do it a couple of times from right back when he's bombed on down the line, but that tends to be down the line, not down the middle, and that's I think where we could cause teams more problems.
Let's hope so. And listen, just one more point on all of this. There's lots of good comments coming in. There was one I wanted to, I'll go back to see in a minute. I'll find it, but we've mentioned a bit about losing games and losing pretty comprehensively. Do you both feel, is that a sign of the way we're going to play this season? Is that just a freak, or is that a style of Alex is thinking, look, we'll win or we'll lose, and he doesn't want to lose by a shed load, I know, but he's more prepared to get 3 points than settle for 1 point. What's your thoughts, Stephen?
The comment I think you're referring to is from Alex. Under Gary Rowett, we drew lots of games as we were set up not to lose. Alex Neil tries to win games and unfortunately sometimes gets it wrong, but draws won't get you in the top 6. I agree with that to a certain extent. I think that we do. I don't think you can just be win or lose. I think there's certain circumstances, especially if you go away from home, if you're in tough conditions, if you come away with a point, I don't think it can ever be seen as a bad result. But I do think that if we sit on 1-0s, inevitably there are going to come times where someone is going to score, and you're going to basically throw away 3 points because you've sat back. So I think obviously no one wants to get thumped, no one wants to see us get thumped. Certainly, I know you travelled, Steve. Those that went to Birmingham on a Tuesday night do not want to see their team get beat 4-0. But I think you have to. I think we have to accept that Alex Neil's got a lot more right than he's got wrong. I think that's probably fair to say.
Yes.
And we are going to lose games of football, but I think we'll win more games under him. It's whether or not we can turn some of those lesser performances, shall we say, into wins rather than go the other way.
Yeah, good point. Carl, anything to add to that, or are you?
Yeah, I think Alex makes positive subs, and I do think that is something that is nice to see. I like a manager that does go for the win more than thinking, right, we're away from home, quarter of an hour to go, let's just sort of settle in for the point. The one thing I would say against Alex, and I say that, you know, he knows way more than I ever will, but it does frustrate me sometimes when he makes very, very late substitutions, and
Agreed.
I do want. He made a triple substitution. I think it might even have been against Preston with
Preston,
a minute to go.
Crazy.
You think,
yeah.
I can't see how that's going to change the game. If you want to make that change, that's great. Do it in the 80th or even the 85th minute. Give them a chance with 8-9 minutes to go, because there's always 4 or 5 added on. But yeah, he does make positive subs, which I like, and you can see what he's trying to do. If the scores are level, you know, like at Swansea, for example, when it was 1-1 there, he was desperately trying to get the win. He was throwing attacking players on. I just wish he'd do it a little earlier sometimes.
Yeah. I have nothing but absolute praise for Alex Neil. I think he's absolutely the right man for the job, the right fit for our club. But I really do, as you sort of mentioned, a bit concerned this season. His substitutions have left me a little bit baffled. I think last season he went for it a little bit more with positive substitutions, and it worked. And he's done it a couple of times this season, and it hasn't worked. And he's referenced that and said, "Look, I've gone for it before, and it worked, and it didn't." I'll take that. But I think in the latter games, as you say, Birmingham and Preston particularly, subs I just thought were really a bit baffling and too late. You know, no sort of look. He'll have had a plan behind it, but it didn't seem it. I couldn't sort of quite get my head around it. So a bit disappointed with that, I thought. Yeah.
Steve, just on that, there's a comment from Steve Lloyd. With the lack of options, he's doing his best with what's available. I do have sympathy for Neil. I have sympathy for him on the sense that I think if he had his close to a full attacking options available, I think we would be looking very, very strong. We still are, but even better than that. I think the issue I do have is, for example, going back to the Preston game, and it's only one game and it's the last one. Macaulay Langstaff, and I said this on the show last week, has built a career being a fox in the box, a poacher. He scored all his goals inside the penalty box, yet was asked to come on and play wide left.
Yeah.
And I understand that sometimes you've got to put players in because we don't have options elsewhere, but you can change the system. We could have gone 2 up front. He could have thrown Langstaff up with Ivanovic. He didn't need to play players out of position. And I think that's where the gripe I have is sometimes, if I understand that needs must, but you've got to try and get your players in the right positions as often as you can and to impact the game of football. Camille Negley's a prime example. He's a lot of debate about him. Is he good? Have we wasted money? Are we just not seeing it because he's not playing in his proper position? Playing him in the space of a week, he come on wide right against Oxford. He played in the 10. He played wide left against Birmingham, which was a bit of a baffling decision, being honest. Then went back to, I think, the 10 against Preston. You've got to give players a run of games in their right positions to get the best out of them. And I think that's something that, whilst we don't have the options, you've still got to do. You've still got to find the basic principles.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something potentially to do with injuries in other positions? just thinking literally off the back of what you said, like Negley playing on the left, on the right in number 10, could that be because, say, for example, Zach Sturge is left back, or
this is a reminder.
Excuse me, hang on one moment. I've just got an Alexa. I've got an Alexa reminder. Put the bins out.
Brilliant. Love it.
Right, he's on there.
Love it.
Oh. So apart from me putting the bins out later,
we're going to clip that, Carl. We're going to clip that.
Oh, you should do. You should do.
That's comedy gold.
I'll record me doing it just to make sure I did. Now, where was I before the bins? Oh, yes. Right. So, for example, if he has to play like Joe Bryan in at left back, is that why he maybe moved Ballo to the right side of the three, because he felt that those two down one side were too weak, and so then he's playing him out of position? Is he playing Negley there because Kramer's right back, etc., etc.? It might be that. Maybe he's thinking, I don't trust those two down one side, so therefore I'm going to play X, Y, and Z there. I don't know. Might be something.
It could. The only thing, again, and it's really difficult because I've just said, I agree with a lot of the things that Alex Neil has done. It's just, I think Ballo has clearly done his best work playing wide left. I think that appears to be the general consensus. That's where he's got some assists. He's obviously got his goal. Negley looked a better player at Oxford in the 10. That's where he thrived in that second half, in my opinion. I thought he looked a completely different player. So to completely go sort of a complete different direction, I understand trying players and maybe wanting to cover who's behind you, but to win a game of football, I think you need your best attacking players in their best positions rather than maybe thinking about other things. And Neil was, let's be honest, I wasn't there. I saw it on TV. You called it, Carl, and Steve, you were there, but we just weren't at the races at Birmingham, and it was a number of things. But I certainly don't think it helps when you're making wholesale changes to players not playing in their preferred positions.
But I think Carl's right with the points he's making, and I think that example was, look, Alex had a plan. He had a plan, didn't he, of putting Negley on the left and Joe Bryan at the fullback, resting Sturge a little bit because of a tight hamstring, but also didn't he say about he wanted him to push forward and then Negley pull inside. So he had a plan for it. The only thing I would say, it was very quickly, as you've said, Carl, it was obvious it wasn't working, and their counteracting of us was definitely working. So I was surprised he didn't change it in game, let alone half time. Even half time, no changes, So I don't want to be down on him too much. As I say, for me, I am a massive fan of Alex Neil, and God forbid he watched this and thinks we're trying to tell him how to do his job. Because I'm sure it would be very frustrating, wouldn't it, to hear some Herberts on a not you, Carl, but the other Herberts on a podcast telling him how to run his team. But it has been a little bit baffling. But look, I think to finish off this segment, I think we're right in saying, aren't we? We're all pretty comfortable to say, crikey, we're 6th place. If you'd have been asked that before the start of the season, we'd have bit your hand off. Win at Norwich, was absolutely set us on our way. And you can argue we haven't got out of third gear. We've shown little spurts, but we're not out of third gear yet. So let's get players fit. Let's get a bit of confidence back from that little 3-game blip. But I repeat, we only lost one of them. We didn't lose 3 games on the trot. We lost 1 game. Look, the future's looking good, but really important game, I would say, Saturday. Which probably leads me on nicely to look, Carl, if you don't mind, we were going to sort of have a little look at predicted team for Saturday, who either a bit of what you would play and maybe what you think Alex will play. And I think if we break it down, back 5 to start, if we go with a 4-2-3, well, unless you think it will be a different formation, actually.
I think it will be 4-2-3-1, and Jeff, it's actually green bin. It's we have a green bin here, just to confuse.
Is that recycling? Is that recycling, Carl?
It's for bits and bobs out of the garden and all that sort of stuff. So a nice bit of weeding and what have you. Things that make life worth living.
Well done for saving the planet as well as
I do my best.
We appreciate it. So what about our back 5?
Enough for Gardeners Weekly. Right, okay. So Crocombe in goal. I think that's as expected. It's a really, really tough one at the back because obviously of the right back position. Because of Coops being suspended, if you move Kramer across there, then you're looking at two inexperienced. You're probably thinking Kamal Grant comes in alongside Caleb. That's very inexperienced back two. Yes, Portsmouth aren't the best, but you don't want to give them an opportunity of running at that. Although every time Grant's played, he's played like a mature player. He hasn't looked out of place. He was very good at Palace and has played very well. Maybe he'll go with a 3. I mean, I know it was against Birmingham and it was really late, but that suddenly made a difference very quickly because we actually pressed because we knew we had cover behind. And yes, I am dodging the question because I'm not 100% sure myself. But
let me while you just think, Carl. Sorry, let me just ask the guys in the chat. Please put in just your back 5, your keeper, and your back 4. And if you want to say you think it's going to be a 3, then say that. But let's get people's thoughts on that as well. But sorry, Carl. So if you had to be pressed, you're definitely Crocombe in goal. Who would you go as your 2 centre halves and your fullbacks?
I think it'll be Wes at right back. Yes, he had a poor game, but I think Alex will stick with him. I think because Wes 9 out of 10 times is your 6 out of 10. He's not going to pull up trees, but that's the way he plays. I think on the left will be Zach. I think that is, if both are fit, then I think Sturgis gets your nod, and rightly so. And then the 2 in the middle will be Caleb and Tristan, I think.
Right.
Would be my guess. But as Chris has just put in the comments, Danny Mack, I think he'll probably be on the bench. I don't know if he'll want to play. I know he played 90 minutes for the under-21s, but maybe it's just too soon. I don't know. We'll have to see on that. But he'll definitely be on the bench, I think. That's a gimme.
If Alex felt he was match fit, like was fit enough, do you think he'd start him? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I don't see why not. He is a natural right back, and that's nothing against Wes. He's normally is a centre half. I think Kramer, defied logic when he came in and just slotted in at right back as if he'd played there all his life.
Yes.
And that's a rarity for a centre half to be able to pull back and be that good. Not just being a defender, but going forwards as well. So I think he'll go. And if we've got a young centre half in there with Caleb, having Tristan, who's still, I think Tristan's only just turned 24. So for a centre half, he's still very young.
Yes.
But it's an old head on young shoulders. So I think if you got Zach at left back, Caleb in there, and to be fair, Crocombe behind them, you could do with a couple of experienced players on there. So I think he'll have Wes in there for experience as well.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. Stephen, what do you think? And by the way, sorry, Stephen, before you do, all the comments coming in, it's brilliant because I think the consensus is definitely Crocombe to start. Obviously, Sturge at left back. There's a real mix at the moment of Kramer to go at right back, or Wes has been mentioned a few times, Danny Mack as well, but Caleb and Kramer also being a pairing in the middle. So real split opinions here. So I'd be interested, Stato, what you think.
I can't see a world where we have Wes Harding at right back with Murphy up against him. Uncle Wes, a little bit built a cult hero status, isn't he, with the fans? And I like the guy, and I think he has probably been harshly treated in his time at the club. I think he probably could have had a little bit more game time. But at right back, I think Portsmouth's most dangerous player plays wide left, in my opinion. I don't confess to watch much of Portsmouth's games, but so for me, I think you'd have to have someone out there that's going to be, I don't want to say competent, that's probably unfair, but a match to try and stop that threat. So for me, I would put Kramer at right back. It does mean you have the inexperience perhaps of Kamal Grant coming in at centre half, but you could even play Wes at centre half if you didn't want to. If you didn't want to put Grant in that position, you could say to Harding, play at centre back and keep Kramer wide right. You could go down that route.
Not bad, Jim.
Personally, I think Crocombe's a shoe-in. I know there was news that broke earlier that Stephen Bender was back training, so whether or not Saturday comes too soon. But I think Crocombe has to stay in.
Yeah.
I would go, if Danny McNamara has any minutes of football available, I would play him. I just don't think that Alex Neil will do that. I think he will go Crammer at right back. I think, and then Kamal Grant and Caleb Taylor as the centre halves and Zach Sturge. It is a young, very young back line. I don't know how old Taylor is, but I can't imagine if that's the back four and
23?
Grant's in.
Is he 23?
No one to be
Got to be
no one to
something
be
like
over
that,
the
yeah.
age. No one to be over the age of 23, 24. It will be inexperienced. We will have a relatively inexperienced goalkeeper in Crocombe at this level as well. But this is what the championship is. You have to use your squad. Everyone has to be willing to step in and play when called upon. They've kept Kamal Grant for a reason. Otherwise, he would have been shipped out back on loan to get more experience. They obviously feel he's potentially ready to play when called upon. So, we're at desperation this weekend with perhaps no real right backs available or lacking match fitness. Our captain suspended. This is the time for him to step up and go, I'm here, guys, and I'm ready to play. And I think what a vote of confidence that would be for him as well, to say, you're the man, we're putting you at centre half and show us what you can do.
Did he play at left back not left back. Did he play left of the three at Palace, Grant? Just trying to remember.
I thought he played right of the three.
I can't remember. I'm just trying to work it out, or if he played central. I thought
with the view from where we were, I thought in the first half when we were sort of kicking away from us, he was on the far side of the pitch, which would have made him right centre back with the other two lads. Other two lads closer towards us. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Look, it's a really, really tough one, and as we're seeing with the points that are coming in from the listeners sort of thing, and look, who'd want to be in Alex Neil's shoes having to make this decision? Because look, as you say, both really good points on the lack of experience that we will have, and look, doesn't it really highlight, guys, all you Jake Cooper haters, just realise how different this is going to be with no Jake guaranteed to be starting Saturday. So I just think, look, real lack of experience. I think if Danny Mac was fit to play, I would start him all day long, and on the knowledge that he might have to come off after 60 or 70. But I think in this modern game, and I'm not disrespecting the modern game, the way they will manage minutes, as they call it, for players, I'm pretty sure they'll think it's not really fair on the lad. It's not like he's coming back from 2 months out, is it, with a calf strain or a hamstring or something. He's been out for sort of nearly a season, or certainly half a season or plus. So long time. So I think it could almost be a bit unfair to put him in too quickly. But I'd have him if he's fit enough all day long. I just can't see how you can have two rookies, with the greatest respect, at centre half. I think you've got to have some experience in there. Understanding their threat might be on the wing, but to me, you've got to be solid at the back. So I've got to play Kramer at centre half rather than right back, much as I'd have him right back all day long if Jake was playing. So that then leaves a dilemma for right back. And I'll be honest, I can't call it. And there's a lot of, you've said Carl, Wes, and a lot of saying Wes. It wouldn't surprise me, be a little disappointed, because it's almost like, does he deserve that spot after the Birmingham display? But look, needs must. So it then makes you think, would he possibly go with a 3 or a 5, as it may be? Is that too big a change? Don't know. So yeah, look, I think I put my head on the block. I think Taylor and Kramer at centre halves, and I think there'll be a really good partnership, by the way. Sturge at left back, right back. I don't know enough about Grant at right back, even though a lot are saying he played there for Bromley. So I think I'd have to put Uncle Wes in there, and hopefully bring Danny on for like 20, 30 minutes maybe, and obviously Crocombe in goal, like you guys.
Just on that, and again, we spoke about what happened at Birmingham and making changes. My only concern with Harding starting, if that's how we lined up, and Portsmouth started the game really well, if they got ahead or they're giving us trouble, do you see a world where Alex Neil would think it's not worked again, I'm going to change it early, or do you think he would still persist with it because he's in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, if McNamara is on the bench, he can only play X amount of minutes? That's the concern I have. If it starts really well, then obviously great, fantastic. We're all in a sort of a good mood and Millwall playing well. But if we start poorly, does Alex Neil have it in him to change it quick enough to give us still a chance to get something from the game?
I think one thing that, as you said in the comments with ourselves, the only good thing at the moment is I can guarantee you the Pompey manager has no idea what's going to turn up until he sees that team.
Well, that's true.
He cannot plan a thing because he will have no idea if Murphy's going to be up against a back three. Will it be Grant there? Will it be Danny Mack there? Will it be Wes? And depending which one of them's there, depends what sort of game Murphy's going to be up against. Will, which I think was a good shout, potentially move Wes inside, put Kramer there. Somebody else I can't remember what the back three was, but playing it that way. Not sure how that would work from an attacking point of view, but something like that, yeah. There's endless options. You could argue for literally everything for various reasons. And so that leaves a dilemma, not just for Alex and everybody here, but also for Portsmouth. How do you train in the week against the side you've no idea what you're going to be up against?
Yeah, and potentially even formation, as you say. I'll tell you a good point as well about Harding at centre half, although that'll be frightening the life out of some people. But he's not quite as bad as I think we're all, or a lot of them.
It didn't help Birmingham.
It didn't help. It didn't help at all. Exactly. But actually, Stephen, your point, if it's not going well, he could switch Kramer and Harding. If that's where the problem is, if there's a problem at right back, you've got that option in game to change it, haven't you? So I'm not saying he would, but that could be an option.
I think, and also you don't want to be going. You sort of don't want to be going into games of football on the basis of, it's going to go badly, so we need to think of a plan B. You want to be thinking on the front foot. You want us to be, playing well and looking like we're the dominant team. But like we keep saying, this is the Championship. You have to expect that teams are going to have some of the ball, regardless of where they are in the league. So I think there's certainly options. I just would rather go with, I think when you're away from home, I would rather go with a team that you feel are more likely to keep you in the game from minute one, rather than just play someone just because you want to stick with him, even though everything suggests that you shouldn't. But I'm not paid to make decisions. I'll be there. I'll hope that we're playing well and whatever team gets put out are going to get us a result. But Alex Neil is paid to make these decisions. Like Carl said, their manager hasn't got. Alex Neil probably doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He's going to do right now, let alone what the Portsmouth manager thinks we're going to do. So it may be a decision he makes on the day. I doubt it, but it could be.
And I think one thing as well, I mean, are we paying Portsmouth far too much respect? We're going there as a team in sixth. They're a team that haven't won in 6. They've won 2 games at home. One, I think, was in October, and the last one was in August. So I think somebody mentioned in the comments, which is true, about them changing formations, playing 4 at the back, 3 at the back. Yeah. That teams, they're going to be under pressure. If we make a positive start, if we say, if Alex goes, right, this team aren't much cop, let's go for the throat, let's try and get an early goal. Who cares who's at the back, if that makes sense?
Absolutely.
Because the crowd will turn on them immediately. They'll be, here we go again. We haven't won in ages. So, I think the pressure's, as it should be, is on them. I mean, they've only the bottom 3 have scored less than them. I think they've only scored 6 or 7. It's not many at all. So
I think
they've lived on their home form, haven't they, for a few seasons now, and rightly so. And it's not that great this year. So I think, you're right. I saw that comment from Alex and Steve Lloyd, both sort of suggesting due to formations or their form. As you rightly say, Carl, are we maybe paying? We should pay respect, but are we a little bit too much? Let them worry about us rather than is our fullback going to make a massive difference in the game? But I do think the centre half pairing is important for me, anyway.
I think there's two things. One, there was a comment about how many games has Kamal Grant actually played at right back. While you guys were talking, I managed to find it. He's played 13 times at right back across his career, 44 obviously at centre half. So he's had a little bit of experience there, so he could do it. And in terms of, you know, the thinking about what they might do to us rather than what we do to them, no doubt we need to be positive. We need to be going into this game full of confidence. I think off the back of the last 3 results, these next 3 games, and I know Southampton might be a little bit of an anomaly now, they've changed their manager, but we're playing teams who are all in, I think, the bottom. I think none of them are higher than 17th as it stands at the moment. So it's a massive week for us to try and capitalise going into the Christmas period. And I think we do have to. We've got to get it right on Saturday. Whatever Neil does, he's got to get it. He's got to be sure in it. And whoever is playing at right back or centre half, whatever it is, has to be sure that they do their job properly to start us on the right path for the week.
Okay. Well, look, I think that was easy, wasn't it? Getting the back 5 sorted. So we'll go on to the even easier bits now, which hopefully will be a little bit easier. And again, please put your comments in the please, guys, as to who would be your first 2 midfielders as such. Who you going for? I'll start with Stephen. Who would you go for in the middle, Stephen?
Casper De Norre has to be in one. I think he's the first name on the team sheet, perhaps with Tristan Kramer. First names on the team sheet. Personally, I think as much as I love, and he's just coming in, a young kid in Derek. I think you've got to go Billy Mitchell for this one. If we're concerned about the perhaps experience at the back and know-how.
Is he going to be fit?
Mitchell,
has he been confirmed as being going to be fit, Billy?
Is he? Oh, is he? Oh, he's out, isn't he? Of course he is. He's out.
No, he's injured.
Well, yeah. then it's Derek. Yeah. Then for me it's Derek. I think it's a straight up. It's a straight up. Sorry, I thought I saw that Mitchell was one of the names.
Well, I don't know. Is he coming back? I'm not sure.
No. Who was the? There was 3 names. It was
Bender, Femi, and who's the Doherty.
Doherty, not Billy. Yeah. Not Billy. Yeah. So okay. Then Derek for me. I think he's been an excellent find from whoever went to the second division in France to scout him. Have done a wonderful job. I think he's also, and when you said it earlier, Carl, I was thinking who could do it, that driving run from midfield. If any of them could do it, he's the one that I think could carry the ball forward with real purpose, obviously being stronger and a little bit more physicality. But I think they're the obvious 2. Maybe Kundal, but again, I think it would be incredibly harsh to not play Del and Del Boy and Casper.
Yeah, I think in a 2, they have to be. Yeah, I think it has. Well, I say has to be as if it's terrible. But that is still a very good partnership. Yeah, Del Boy has been very impressive, especially as he can speak very, very limited English. I mean, I've heard from the dressing room, he's literally putting things on the board, right? You dun, 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 and then he takes it and goes with it. So I'd imagine, it's not easy for him and others trying to work, explain where he needs to be. But the biggest compliment I can give him is when he's on the pitch, you'd never guess. He seems to know exactly when it comes to set pieces, corners, front and back. He knows where he should be. And as you say, the scouting, hats off to him to find him and Ballo. You trust him in midfield with Casper. They will work well as they do when Billy's in there as well. It's a nice solid 2 or occasionally 3 to have.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you both there, and it looks like most of the comments are coming in to that effect as well. We are a little bit limited, but there are some other options. But I think they're the 2 shoe-ins for Saturday. And I actually think this break will have done Del Boy the world of good, because he's probably had a bit of a baptism of fire, hasn't he? And probably thinks, like, Christ, I could do with a bit of a rest and just acclimatise himself a little better. And yeah, I'm expecting him to have a good game on Saturday, where he's been a little quiet recently. So yeah, I think we're all on that page. So so moving on then, let's say the forward three, if you like, before we go to the striker. But who would you have as the three central wide or sort of central left and right, Carl? Who would you select?
Well, I think it's a nice on the left would be Ballo. I think him and Sturge seem to be a natural partnership. They don't seem to have to work on it too much. In the middle, this is the it's almost toss of a coin to an extent for me, with Cundle and Negley, as in which one I would pick there and which one I'd throw out wide. I would probably put Cundle out wide out of the two, just because I think we get more out of Negley in the middle. Although if he went the other way around, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And again, as I mentioned earlier on, it all depends who's playing right back, doesn't it?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? That's that problem that
partnerships.
you can have. If you're playing Grant there, for example, or Harding, or whoever that may be, or also you've got Bangura Williams in there. Do you play him in the 10? Do you bring him in because he's been on the periphery? Is that something you think, right, Portsmouth aren't going to see this coming. They're going to be trying to work this, that and the other out. Let's throw a curveball. Let's just bring him straight into the mix, put him plumb centre, stick Negley wide and go for the throat. Portsmouth, you know, we don't fancy your chances today. And it's going to be really, really important to get somebody up there with Miha if they're playing a back three. So you need to drag somebody out of that three. Sometimes we've been a bit guilty of playing percentage down the middle, and Miha just looks lost, and the centre halves are thinking lovely. While if Bangura Williams is in there, you're going to draw one of them out naturally, because that's where he plays. He's not forced into that position, and if you give him a free role with Derek and Casper behind him, who knows?
Yeah. Look, I'm really glad you've mentioned RBW, Carl. I mean, we've had a few discussions about him on this show, and Joe would never forgive me if we didn't mention, have a little section on RBW, but that's from all of us, actually. Where do you stand on this whole mystery as to why he's just not getting enough game time right now, even off of the bench? Let's be honest, he's not even coming on much when he's on the bench. Where's your thoughts with that?
It's tough, isn't it? Because they spend so much time on the training ground that none of us see. We take from what we see on the pitch is how we define players. I don't know behind the scenes, does he not fit into what Alex is trying to do? Are there certain things that he feels Bangura Williams isn't doing? Perhaps from a defensive point of view, maybe he wants a player to be more than a number 10. He wants you to drop in a bit. And maybe Bangura Williams is being caught out of position sometimes that way. I don't know. It's a surprise. Don't get me wrong. I'm surprised he isn't involved more. But yeah, well, you just don't see what's happening on the training ground. Maybe there's something that Alex doesn't like about him or is trying to change, and it's not working between them at the moment. He might want Bangura Williams to do a certain job, but to Bangura Williams, it's not natural when he keeps dropping into positions that Alex doesn't want him to be in, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a mystery, and it does align itself to something like that. And quite interesting, isn't it? Playing Portsmouth away Saturday was where he had one of his better games, didn't he? And his link up with Miha, as we all know, was exceptional last year. So could be an option. Would you see him as an option only as a 10? Or would he potentially be right side as well, or just a 10 for RBW in your mind?
For me, I think if you can have him in the 10 role and just give him a little bit of a license, if he wants to double up on the right, by all means, you know, if he wants to push right up, even almost beyond Miha occasionally, just to cause the defence problems. I think somebody like him, you do need to give him a bit of a license. He's not somebody that's going to play in a strict position. I mean, perfect example was that goal against Portsmouth. I think it was him and Casper picked up the ball, edge of the 18-yard balls, quick little 1-2. He pops up on the right-hand side, sees the run from Miha, puts it through, and the rest is, it was a great finish, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, lovely little.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Thanks, Cole. Listeners, don't forget, please put in the comments your front three, right, middle and left side as well. And look, sorry, at this stage, Stephen, I will just say I can see 41 likes. Is that right? Or has it gone up from there?
I have 46. I didn't want to interrupt, but we will get to the bonus clip of Mr. Zampa.
Brilliant.
Very, very shortly.
Brilliant. So while we're on a roll, guys, don't forget, if you're listening, like and subscribe, put some comments on YouTube, now or after the show. That all helps towards the algorithms and to help us raise more money for cancer research. So thanks for your support so far. Stephen, who's your front three then?
Well, I would Ballo on the left. I think is the only one we can probably, touch wood. He's fit and all that, but I think Ballo's the one that is a shoe in. He's going to play. I think the left hand side is he's now to lose, if that makes sense. He's playing very well,
and the rest will probably have done him good as well. Like I said about Del Boy,
probably, especially as I know previously he got called up into the Austrian. I think the previous international break he was in the Austrian setup, but I don't think he got any game time. But this time I don't think he went. So he would have been around the training ground. He would have still been working on things with Neil and the players. So probably could have done with a break as well. Someone getting used to playing at sort of English football again. The other two positions are it's really a bit of a conundrum. Carl said it might depend on who's playing at right back as to who plays wide right, and that could well be the Alex Neil's conundrum. If it was me, I would play Bangura Williams in the 10. I think again another coming of age type thing, as I said with the back four. They always say it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're good enough, you play. I think we've seen that Bangura Williams is good enough to play at this level. He's good enough to impact games. I think Camille Negley, whilst he looked good at Oxford, I think perhaps isn't quite on the levels that we need him to be. And he's likely to be the one that's picked in the 10, in my opinion. But I would personally go with Bangura Williams and give him an opportunity to try and stamp some authority in that position and show us what he can do. And on the right, I actually, it hasn't been mentioned at all, a couple of comments, but Amaku, as much as he can be incredibly frustrating, and I'm sure Mr. Green will be tearing his hair out at me with that option, but he is frustrating, and his final ball can be, it's just so annoying to watch sometimes. But I think he certainly does the job of tracking back. I know sometimes it looks like he's not really bothered, but if you watch him, he does try to help out on occasions. And there's you don't want him to be used as a defensive option, but I think he will try. He does have pace, something that we're missing in with from other players, and it just gives us what I would say someone that does give you an outlet. I think if you play a Negley or a Kundal on the right and you've got Bangura Williams or Kundal in the middle, you don't have that many players that could be quicker on the transition and get you up the pitch relatively quickly. So for me, as much as he's frustrating, I think Amaku on that right hand side to start.
No, listen, interesting and fair play to you saying that. You're right. He hasn't been mentioned much at all, if at all. And it is a little, I wouldn't select him, but it is a little harsh because you listen to opposition who've played against us, or you might, sorry Carl, you might have Sky commentary on, and they may, sorry mate, only
sorry,
being honest.
I've got to go put the bins out. Sorry,
it was other people who tell us when they come on, they tell us who the Sky commentators are, but they will say he's been the biggest threat for Millwall. He's the one who looks the biggest threat. And when you look back, you do think he does look threatening. But then your point is, Stephen, absolutely right. As frustrates everybody, it's that final ball or that decision making when it's crucial. And boy, if he did have that, he'd be a first on the team sheet, let alone even selected.
If you look at, Steve, the Preston game, and again, I know ifs and buts, but that passage of play where he held off the defender, ran in on goal, got himself into the box, that is everything you want from a powerful, quick forward. That's exactly the sort of thing you want to see. Okay, the finish is very poor. He should go the other way to the far corner rather than bend it in the near corner. And again, gets himself down the wing in the second half in a great position, got a couple of players in the box, and he ends up smashing it out for a throw-in on the far side, which we see far too often. It's one of those where, you know, I've always said, I think Millwall as a football club and the way that he has been managed, we haven't done his development the world of good. We've in my opinion, we've actually kind of damaged his development. I think when we brought him from the League of Ireland. No disrespect to the League of Ireland, but playing in the Championship is a huge step up. And whilst we could all see raw potential, I think he should have been loaned out, got first team experience playing regular football, and now he's asked to play in the Championship and produce at a high level, and he's just not quite ready for that. In saying that, he does give us some pace and an outlet, and I think I don't see any other option than putting him out wide to give us some form of attacking option to get us up the pitch.
I'm sorry, Carl, I'm laughing because our dear friend to the channel, Chris Brown, has said Imaku is a waste of time. And I know there's plenty who think that. And look, I'm not quite in that camp. I understand the frustration, but I do think he gets a bad rep. And your point about that chance against Preston when he burst through. I had a debate with Jeff Cook, who's on here, my mate. He thought he did brilliant, and I said, "Yeah, but he didn't do the important part, which was put it across the keeper into the net. But actually getting there was bloody brilliant. He did so difficult." Sorry, Carl, go on. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just about to say, as we were talking about so many different players, I just made some notes down here, and I was just looking through how young our team is in recent times, because you look at Hutch, Muzzer, Honeyman, Saville. I think Journeyman's probably been extremely disrespectful, but then you look at the team now that we're discussing today. You're looking at Ballo, Derek, Bangura Williams, Caleb, Grant, Idemo, Crocombe, Cundle to an extent. You know, you could easily pick what we've discussed here. You know, we're looking at maybe 6, 7 players that are very inexperienced. And that's a really big swing from where we were. And maybe that's something Alex is doing, sort of riding the waves a bit. That's why Millwall are getting, when sadly they go behind, letting in a couple. Maybe it's that inexperience and, you know, having only a few old heads. I mean, you know, that's maybe something in there. I don't know.
Definitely, without a doubt. And that's where Luongo's a massive miss, isn't he? You know, whereas for a game like this and with a squad available like this, he's been a key.
It's your spine, isn't it? So everybody talks about the spine of the side.
100%.
And Smallbone as well. Smallbone is a big miss.
Huge miss.
You just keep remembering players and going, "Oh yeah, he used to play."
And that's my point, Carl, about the Preston. Look, I don't know. Preston were saying to you they were their first team choices. You think about that: Femi, Smallbone, Coburn, Dougherty's been out, hasn't he? Lenny. Christ, you know, really, have people had those sort of first team players out? Anyway, I won't be bitter and twisted. We'll move on with what we've got. Very quickly, I think a lot have put in the chat. I'm on the camp. I'm in the camp. Sorry, I would try Negley as the 10. I'll be honest, I hate all. I'm renowned for saying this on here. I hate all this talk of 10. He's just the central support to the attacker in my mind. But I know it's called the 10 role. But I would say Negley central, Ballo nailed on left side. I personally would go RBW on the right. I don't think it'll happen. I think it will be Cundle. But actually, with you saying about Imaku it could be Kundal or Imaku, I reckon, that Alex will actually choose. But I personally would go RBW, as I know a lot in the chat are. The only thing against that is he hasn't had a lot of game time. And with us having so many players not having game time, especially defensively, can you risk too many gambles? So probably it won't be a start for RBW, but I'd love to see him get a start. So I think we're there with the front three. Look, striker, you could say it's nailed on, but I'm sure some people in the chat might say differently. But who would be your striker? I think I can guess Carl, but who would you?
Yeah. Me or all. Yeah, has to be.
What's your thought? Some people saying he's got a knock. Is there any sort of other info on that? People are saying he's carrying a knock.
I genuinely have not heard a thing. And that's not me trying to cover up for things. To be fair, I don't work directly for the club, so I don't see the guys.
I'm not trying to throw you under the bus.
No. I'm just saying, in case anybody think I do, and I'm just, putting up the sort of screen straight batting it. But no, I have absolutely no idea. I haven't heard a thing.
I think Bex on here said that it's been said today that he didn't go on international duty because he had a small knock and they were resting him. Right. Is that right?
Yeah,
Stephen,
I think he got a knock, didn't he, against Preston, and it looked for all the money that he was going to go off.
Yep.
And then managed to play until I think 89 or something silly like when he was taken off. But they've worded it very cleverly because it kind of looks like that Alex Neil had something to do with him being pulled out of. But I think that's just clever journalism. I think perhaps he had a knock and it was kind of agreed that he wouldn't go on international duty. So if he hasn't trained an awful lot and according to that article, so I don't know. Obviously we assume he will be fit, but he was carrying a knock, so who knows.
You going for Mia up top as well, Stephen, same as Carl?
Yeah, if I think he's the only liable option. I think Langstaff probably deserves an opportunity, but I don't think he's a lone striker, certainly at this level. And as much as I like the look of AJ Matthews, I think he's got a little bit about him. I don't think he'd be ready to come in. So if Mia's fit and available, then I think we've got to go with him.
Yeah, I'm in that camp, and I want to come back on something on that, Carl. But Alex is saying on the chat that first game of last season versus Watford, our average age was 29.3, and versus Preston it was 24.7. So your point of it's a massive shift, isn't it? Sorry, Stato, nicking some stats of yours there. He won't be happy getting beaten.
I'm always up for stats.
Oh, you as well, of course. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Two Statos together. Carl, what's your thoughts on BFS's form? Why do you think he's not really hit the heights that we expected so far?
I think for him, a lot of teams seem to play a back three, which I don't think does him any favours for a start. I think sometimes we haven't been brave enough in possession, and the get-out ball is a Coburn type ball forwards. Miha's strength has never been back to goal, and I don't think it ever will be.
Good point, yeah.
So he needs the ball on the floor into the channels, or when Femi has played, he draws defenders across, which then leaves the spaces. Because when Femi's there, you quite often will then see whoever's playing left side of the defence, whether that be a 2 or 3, has to get drawn across because the fullback's under pressure. That then leaves the space for Miha to run into. I think that is one of the problems we have when we attack. It's, shall I say, again, not down the middle particularly. You're not getting a driving run, drawing defenders out, we're quite. I suppose quite slow in the build-up, and that doesn't help him.
Yeah.
Like we saw the goal against Portsmouth, referring back to that.
Yes.
It was that ball in behind, the defensive had to come up, and that's given him the opportunity to run into. But when teams are looking at ours, they're looking at Miha up front by himself. They're thinking, who can hurt us from the midfield to go past us? This isn't being disrespectful to anybody, but there's nobody, as in Billy, Jasper, Luongo, Smallbone, whoever, they're not going to go flying past him. And therefore, we can push up nice and high. The minute that ball comes in the air, we'll win that 9 times out of 10, problem solved. So I think that's his problem.
So he's had a bit of bad luck in terms of formation and the style
Yeah.
of play rather than his own. Is there an argument, though? A lot of people on here, including myself at times, will say, and Chris often does in his post matches, we want a bit more from him. Could he give us a bit more in terms of energy and putting himself about a little bit more? And I know you said it's not his natural game, but do you feel that's...
It's tough, isn't it? Because again, I don't know what he's been asked to do. Has he been asked to play, basically we want you straight down the middle, we'll use players on the flanks, and your job purely is to try and hold up play and bring people into it? Or are we asking him to try and push on, and he's not doing that? Physically wise, I think he would always struggle in that sense. He's not the biggest height wise, and that shows the minute that ball. I can't think. I mean, people might be able to tell us on there. I'm trying to think of headed goals that he's scored since he's been with us. It can't be many. I might be getting this completely wrong, but to me, none spring to mind. So we need that ball on the floor. And when you're playing as a lone striker, that's very hard. Normally, when you play somebody up top as a lone striker, they've either got to have quality balls through the middle, or you need somebody like a Coburn who's bigger to actually help hold the ball up and then bring players into it and then spin back off them. So it's, I feel for him. I do. I think he's got it's really hard for him at the moment, and especially with the amount of injuries, as we've just reeled off. The supply chain, whoever we go with at the weekend, you may be relying on one or two players to open it up. Whoever plays in that three, you need that through ball. That's we're not seeing that ball be played into the channels, and Miha's not getting there. We're just not seeing that ball played into the channels.
Do you think?
Sorry, Stephen. I think I remember him scoring a header from a corner. Again, somebody's put QPR. I don't know if that.
Well, he scored
QPR this year. And the cut game from an inch off the ground or on the ground.
That was the one. That was the one that come to mind for me. But the QPR, the last touch was with his head. I
think Carl means a big up, powerful header. I think he's had one from a corner last year, but no, you're right, not many.
I think it's just on the point of the service line. Do you think that? And I don't want to keep going back to it, but Neil Harris said that his positioning, there was a comment about his positioning not being sort of in the middle of the box. And he'll learn that in his game. Obviously, you watch the games, you commentate on the games and do a good job of being, I would say, probably fair to our players and to what we're trying to do. Do you see, from say looking at it from a fan's perspective, I'm constantly looking at him thinking, get yourself in the box, don't be drifting out wide, don't be following the ball into the channel, get yourself into the box. Would that automatically solve the problem? Are we putting balls into the box, it's just that he's not there? Or do you think that we still need to create more chances?
That's a good question. I suppose it's hard because I know I keep going back to it, but it's that runner from midfield who, I mean, Smallbone did a good job in the 10 whenever he played it, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But if you looked at all of our midfielders, how many would you say is an attacking midfielder? As in that player, keep going back to it, as in is going to drive through to give Miha the space. I know when, for example, Femi's gone wide, there has been a couple of times where he's put a good ball in and Miha's nowhere near it. And you think, well, surely he should be in these positions. But I should imagine maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's because he hasn't had much service up until then. He's almost caught a bit daydreaming, which isn't good. You should be on it, and you've got to gamble. I can't remember who it was. An ex-striker always said you should be there in the right place at the right time, and 9 times out of 10 the ball won't come to you. But when it does, you still need to be there. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's a tough one with me here. It's frustrating because we all know what he can do.
Still learning his trade, isn't he, as well? And look,
as you mentioned, with the average age of the team.
I said on and I'll give you a hint now when we come on to score predictions, but I said on a recent pod, he gets 2 at Pompey, he'll have 4 in 16. So a 1 in 4 return won't be too shabby. Not that it's brilliant, but you get my point. You know, things can turn around very, very quickly. You know, and let's hope this international break's done him the world of good as well. So, so I think, look, just quickly before we maybe look at the video, Stephen, because I can see your eyes glinting with excitement. Just look on the bench. Any players going to be on the bench? I don't want you to name the full bench, but any players going to be on there that maybe we didn't think would be, or like Danny Mack, for instance, we've said we expect to be on the bench. Stephen, can I ask you first? Who do you think?
I think Danny Mack will be in the squad. I think he'll be there or thereabouts. The other one that will be interesting, someone mentioned it earlier, and I must admit that I'd completely forgot about him, but a good option is Jack Howland as an attacking option. I think when we've seen him, he's looked quite bright. Looks like he, can quite direct with the ball. So again, maybe the lack of options that we've got in forward areas could give him an opportunity. And the only other one, again, it's the curious case of Zach Lovelace. Everyone talks about him. Everyone asks where he is. What's he going to do? When's he going to play? He's got some minutes in the 21s. I know
he's on Ben's FM, isn't he? He's not he's Football Manager, is he? He's not really a player, is he?
I would love him to get back to some fitness and just get an opportunity, because there's so much talk about him, and I think everyone's got to remember. Someone put in a comment at Steve about Mia being a kid. Lovelace gets a lot of criticism for things that, like, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know what his fitness is. Is he just unlucky? So there's a lot of pressure on him, but I'd love him to maybe be fit enough to get a space on the bench, especially with the lack of perhaps attacking options that we've got, just to give him a little bit of confidence. But the obvious one, as I say, Danny Mack, maybe Alfie Doughty if he's got a bit of fitness. But Howland and Lovelace, I'd love to see them on the bench just to give them an opportunity to be around the first team squad.
Yeah. Any add-ons on that, Carl?
Not particularly. I think Idemo, just we'd mentioned earlier, and I think he's a great option from the bench. I think last 20 minutes, the last thing you'd want is him coming on and running at you.
Spot on.
So he's always, I think, very handy to come on last quarter of an hour, 20 minutes. Something that Alex put in the comments that I've got on my many notes in front of me that I forgot to bring up when we were talking about Miha, is his record against Portsmouth. And I've always wondered, actually, and I always forget to ask when it's a certain player has got a certain, like Coops against Sheffield United. When ZM was with us, his record against Preston was ridiculous. Correct. And that always got...
They hated him. They hated him with a passion.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, and his record against Portsmouth is very good. I mean, it's, I think, is it 3?
3 and 2, he said.
3 and 2,
he said, yeah.
I can't read my own bloody handwriting. But, there's a reason I talk, and that is the proof. But, so, and I'd imagine there must be in his mind the goal against them last time, the little chip over the keeper. You must go to certain grounds if you have a good record against the side. Even if your team's out of form and think you get that extra boost, you must do.
Yeah, it's a good point. Really good point.
No,
really good point. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Carl. Right, Stephen, before we go on to score predictions, are we going to do the vid before the end, or what did you want to do at the end?
Yeah, no, we'll put it on now, and then we'll ask the listeners if they want to have another view of it. I'm sure that they do, but Joe isn't here now to stop me doing this. He's always here cancelling kicking me off the stage. So we're just, for the listeners,
what do you make of that, Carl?
Can I just, can we ask you what your thoughts? We will show it again, so you get another opportunity to see it. But just initial thoughts.
I think that's probably all that needs to be said.
And that will hurt him.
Yeah, he only lacks one thing, and unfortunately, it's ability. I mean, that was his
we might clip that as well as the bin comment. We might clip that comment as well. Brilliant. Oh, he'll be heartbroken there, Joe, when he bless him. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So look, we're at 7 minutes. What's making up 90 minutes? So 7 off. We're in the 83rd minute, 84th minute, guys. So big game at Pompey on Saturday. Stephen, you got any stats for us? Because I'm aware of some stats in the last 6 games, particularly against them. But yeah, do you know? Did you have some stats, or am I throwing you under the bus here?
You throw me a little bit under the bus on that. I had slightly something else. It was along the kind of mere talk of him being quite in good form, but we actually have a pretty good record against Portsmouth in recent times. I believe, I don't know if I think if we've not lost in our last 7. Is it
yes,
7 games in all competitions
yes.
that we haven't been beaten by them? And I believe that 6 of those are wins. So I know we haven't played them an awful lot, obviously, they were in the Premier League, then the sort of collapse down the leagues, and it's kind of evened itself out a little bit now. We've played them last season. I think we also played them in the Carabao Cup, I believe, early doors. Last season as well. So we do have a good recent record against them. They are obviously struggling. We spoke a lot about perhaps where we might have some issues with selection, but something you said earlier, Steve, that I think is vital. We've got to concentrate on our own game. You do have to get the basics right. You do have to have players that are competent in each position. But if we go there with the team we think we're going to put out, we have enough to win the game, but we just have to go there and show that we can do it. So we go there in good spirits, go there in good form. Hopefully the lights stay on this time and we don't have to go back again. I know a few people had made comments about that, but I think in of all time, I think we've won more games than they've beaten us at all time as well. So a team that usually, and again, I go back to what I said earlier, we can't keep looking at these old omens and things, but we do tend to have a better record than them. We do tend to have the rub over them at the moment. So why can't we go there and do it again?
It's historically not an easy place to go to, but as you rightly say, I think we've in recent years and certainly recent meetings had the better of them. So again, another reason why they will not be looking forward to this game. Whereas we should be. So did you give us a score, Stephen? Did you?
No, I'm going to go with 2-1, and obviously Wes Harding's going to score both goals, as I've given pelters pretty much the entire talking about. No, seriously, I think it'll be 2-1. I'm going to go with, I think Ballo will get on the score sheet, and
Header?
I will.
Yeah, another header.
Not this time. And I will go with Caleb Taylor.
Ooh, right.
Caleb Taylor up from a set piece, I think.
Good one. He had a good chance against Preston, actually.
He did. Should have done better with that.
And his shirt pulled at the time.
Yeah. But, okay, so a 2-1 win with Ballo and Taylor to score. Well done. Thanks, Stephen. Carl, how about yourself?
I think it'll be 2-0. I think Miha hopefully will get one nice and early, maybe a bit of a scramble from a corner. And then Idemo will come on late on when Portsmouth are pushing forwards and bomb through, clean one-on-one, won't pass to Wes, who's next to him, and fire it into the back corner. But I am so desperate now for Wes to play and score because one, he'll do the old Ronaldo. And 2, I will have probably the biggest smile on my face. Yeah, that would be superb. For us to win and Wes to get it would just be, you couldn't write it.
Absolutely. And let's be honest, we'd all be absolutely delighted for him,
Definitely.
Great for us to get the win, but somebody, I think it was Bex said earlier, look, he's a very nice bloke and regarded as a very nice bloke, but look, it's a bit more, we need a bit more than that when on the pitch, but wouldn't it be a great script? Yeah, I agree. We've got some great scores coming in, a lot of 2-1s, 3-1s, 2-0s. I'm going with you, Carl. I'm going a 2-0. I think whatever defence we put out, I think they'll end up holding firm and playing well. and I'm going to go for a BFS double. I'm going to stick to that and think it will be, and hopefully be the start of him really getting some form back. And not necessarily, I'm not necessarily in the camp that he was brilliant last year football-wise, but he knew where the net was, and he scored some great goals. So hopefully he'll get back to that on Saturday. So, guys, look, we're a minute and a half short of 90 minutes. So before the ref gives us 8 minutes of injury time or extra time, as they do these days, especially if it's a tight game, we won't go that long. But before we wind up, did you want to do anything? Did you want to show that again, Stephen? To really,
I will. But for anyone that's remotely interested, I've just looked it up. Wes Harden is 14-1 anytime to score on Saturday. So if he does get in the starting lineup, then obviously we've given pelters. And if Carl, if you ever speak to him, we love Uncle Wes. We really
he's
love
a lovely
Uncle
guy.
Wes.
But he says hello to everybody. He's a really good guy.
I think he's been unfortunate, but I just don't think he's quite the right option for me on the game.
No, that's fair enough.
But who knows? I will show the clip again. But guys, thanks very much for. I know Steve will do an outro. But thanks very much for watching and supporting us. International break's always a bit harder for us because there isn't an awful lot to talk about. So we try our best to keep bringing the content and content much like this. And if you hit like and if you keep putting the comments on, the next live show that Joe Zampa does, I'll make him play the video for you so he can describe it himself.
He'll probably press the wrong button.
Brilliant. In fairness to him, it's a bit not like Gazza's chant, but you remember Gazza's chants at Wembley when he went with every time you watch it, his toe gets nearer and nearer to putting it in that semi-final golden goal, and Joe's gets nearer and nearer to the crossbar, but it's never going in, I'm afraid, Joe.
And there's a comment there. Sorry, one more thing. Andy Herbert, this is obviously to Carl. Don't forget to take the rubbish out.
Oh, don't you worry. There is my lovely wife downstairs that, trust me, will tell me in about 30 seconds.
Brilliant. Well, listen, before we wrap up, I just want to say, Carl, listen, really big thank you for coming on. It's always great. Your insight and your thoughts and ideas are excellent, so we really do appreciate it. And look, genuinely, we get regular comments on here of people listening to your commentaries, and they absolutely love it. You are the voice of Millwall, and long may that be the case. So thanks for that, and thanks for coming on. Any comments before we finish?
No, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm always happy to chat Millwall, and I'm glad people like listening to my ramblings when I'm not falling off chairs, putting bins out, or whatever random stuff comes into my head. And I will be having a Bovril Saturday because I'm sure it's going to be bloody cold.
Lovely. I had one yesterday, actually. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I love a Bovril. But Carl, genuinely, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on. Lovely to see you again. And Stephen, anything to finish off on?
No, just as I said, thanks for tuning in, guys. We do our best with the international break. Steve has, I think, done a stellar job standing in for Mr. Zampa as host. So I will let him finish it off.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Stato. Thanks for your input as always. Brilliant stuff, and a good show with you guys. Listen, you may or may not have known we've had a few technical issues tonight that we've soldiered on bravely, and I think it's gone okay. But as always, look, the show's nothing without everybody tuning in, listening, the thoughts and comments you've been putting on. I must say, really appreciate it, and great to see and hear. Sorry we can't. Well, they're all coming up, but we can't necessarily comment on them all because otherwise we'd be here till midnight, and that bin would never get out on for Carl, unfortunately. But no, look, just to finish off, make no apology for saying again, if you haven't done so, or if you're listening back to this, please like and subscribe. And if you don't like what we're saying, please like and subscribe. Make a comment in the comments boxes on YouTube. It all helps towards us getting higher algorithms, which all ensures that we make more money for cancer research, which is an absolutely fantastic charity, which everybody has been touched by that awful aspect of cancer. So please play your part, and we would really appreciate it. But thanks for listening. For all of those going down at Fratton Park on Saturday, including yourself, Stephen and Carl, enjoy it. Bring the 3 points home, please, and turn the lights off when you leave, if you wouldn't mind. So thanks, and goodbye, and thanks for listening to everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.